Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you being here this afternoon. I am Jocelyn Wetzel, also known as Professor Success. We believe all teachers are superheroes. Since 2008, I have worked in the education field, first as an elementary educator in Charlottesville, Virginia, and after 8 years in the school systems, through Explore Learning, I partnered with East Coast school districts to help ensure their students and teachers had access to innovative math and science resources. Most recently, I joined the Tech Forward Legends of Learning team to continue supporting these school districts, but with an engaging, interactive, standard-aligned game-based learning platform for math and science. Now, about today's event. The Maryland STEM Innovation Panel is part of our Education Leadership Series. Legends of Learning strives to be on the cutting edge of the new game-based learning strategies and techniques. In that pursuit, Legends has created this educational leadership series to explore the latest technological advances, current and projected trends, and solutions to the issues affecting education today. Our ongoing series features collaborations with the best and brightest minds to produce thought-provoking and educational content. Now, I am eager to introduce you to some of Maryland's own brightest minds. Today, your panel consists of, and please give a little wave, Leanne Anderson. Leanne is the science resource teacher for grades K through 8 for the Charles County Public Schools. Prior to this position, she taught elementary science for 18 years and middle school science for 2 years. Throughout her career, she has taken part in several curriculum writing projects to develop and revise the elementary science curriculum for the Charles County Public Schools. Leanne is a published author with the International Technology and Engineering Educators Association and has written curriculum for Engineering by Design and national curriculum through ITEEA. She has been nominated for and awarded several local and national awards, including being PBS's Super STEM Teacher of the Year. In her current position, she shares her knowledge and experience to support the elementary and middle school science teachers of Charles County. Next up, Kendra Hinson. Kendra is the elementary teacher specialist at Frederick County Public Schools. She started her teaching career in 2001 as an elementary classroom teacher, intervention teacher, STEM teacher leader, and elementary science curriculum writer. After graduating from Hood College with a master's degree in educational leadership and administration in 2010, she continued to build on experiences through writing science curriculum, supporting teachers, writing grants, writing and teaching MSDE courses, and aligning curriculum to the NGSS standards with incredible teacher leaders. In addition to her role, she supports the Earth and Space Science Lab in Frederick, Maryland as an adjunct professor for the graduate school at Hood College. Her current role as the teacher specialist for Frederick County allows her to connect and work with 38 elementary schools promoting science and STEM education for the Frederick community. She believes in the wonder of science for all ages. Next up, Dr. Corrine Perrella. Dr. Perrella currently serves as the Advanced Co-Curricular Specialist for Arundel County Public Schools, Maryland. In her role, she works closely with schools to ensure students can participate in after-school activities for which they have passion, show perseverance, and express enjoyment. In her work, Dr. Perrella has been instrumental in advocating for programs which encourage student voice and choice. A driving value in her work is to foster meaningful exchanges between students, teachers, staff, and community members outside of the classroom. Next, we have Dr. Felicia Martin-Latief. Dr. Martin-Latief is the STEM Instructional Supervisor for Prince George's County Public Schools in Maryland. Dr. Martin-Latief started in PGCPS in 2003 as a high school science teacher and then moved to be the project manager for the Minority Student Pipeline Math Science Partnership Project, which is a major research and development effort that supports innovative partnerships to improve K-12 student achievement in mathematics and science. As STEM supervisor, Dr. Martin continues to implement the MSP2 project supplemental, which focuses on using the model developed and partnerships forged to support computer science in PGCPS. And lastly, we have Dr. Brian Raygor. Dr. Raygor is presently the Supervisor of Science for the Wicomico County Public Schools in Salisbury, Maryland. In July, Brian will transition to executive level leadership as the Director of Curriculum, Instructional Resources, and Professional Development for WCPS. Prior to becoming supervisor, Brian taught biology at Bennett High School for 13 years, where he was recognized with the Outstanding Biology Teacher Award from the National Association of Biology Teachers. Brian has provided professional learning on the NGSSS, educational technology, biology, and environmental science to audiences across the United States, at the American School in Managua, Nicaragua, and in the Galapagos Islands. Brian strongly believes that all students can do science. Okay, let's begin our panel discussion. Welcome, everyone. Okay, open up to all panelists today. What do your districts look like today for instruction?
Well, I'll start briefly because I think we're all in similar places, but we're running a mix right now. We have students have the option of being hybrid, coming in 2 days a week. We have a Monday, Tuesday cohort, a Thursday, Friday cohort, deep cleaning on Wednesdays and over the weekend, and a large number of our students still remaining virtual for the entire time. So our teachers are teaching a mix of students in front of them and students at home on Zoom at the same time.
In our county, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Kendra.
I'm sorry, I was just going to piggyback on Brian because we have the exact same thing happening in Frederick County. We have a cohort A and cohort B, and Wednesdays is cleaning day and professional learning and continual asynchronous work along with virtual learning too. So we have the same situation that Brian has in Wicomico. I'm sorry, Leanne, go ahead.
That's okay. In Charles County, we also have on our Wednesdays are the professional development days for our teachers, and will become cleaning days for school when we return. Our students are set to return with special populations February 22nd. And so at that point, up until right now, we're all still virtual. But at that point, some of the students will be back. And then the remainder of our populations will be starting back around March 20th, around that area. So again, we'll be doing that same sort of thing where we're having 2 days a week that the kids will be in person, and 2 days a week they'll be asynchronous, and then Wednesday's cleaning day. Sounds like Wednesdays are cleaning days for everybody.
Yes, just to confirm it is. Here in Arundel County, we also have that very same practice. Mondays, Tuesdays, we have student groups, and then Thursday, Fridays as well. We were able to celebrate our elementary students return this week for those who came back into the classroom, and then we will stagger from middle school and high school in the upcoming weeks.
And for Prince George's, we are following the same thing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday cleaning, Thursday, Friday. However, we are slightly behind you all in that our students won't begin to return until after their spring break.
Okay, sounds like a similar case across the board. So what are 2 lessons you've learned while adapting to that new normal, Dr. Martin?
Well, definitely, it's not a lesson that I'm new to learning, but it's definitely being reinforced, which is to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that the normal is that nothing is normal. So those are the 2 things I could definitely attest to when it comes to trying to navigate the waters in this current pandemic. My focus, of course, is always the teachers and the students, and whatever I can do to help the teachers be more comfortable with being uncomfortable and allowing that to transfer into their students so that teaching and learning is still innovative and it still occurs with the depth of rigor that STEM promotes, I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I like that term, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Anyone else have that experience?
I mean, I feel the same way. We're kind of all in the same boat and just trying to just get through best we can. We're all in the same boat. So we just need to know that there is no normal. And the other thing that I guess one of the big things that I feel is that, you know, communication is so important right now, because it's always important, but right now, because we're virtual, it's just so hard to make sure that we're meeting all the needs of everybody. So communication is key.
You know, I'll feed off that also, piggyback that. It's also connect your resources. There's so many resources, we're resource rich, but finding ways to connect those. And then be open to new ideas. Things that were never considered possible before are now possible, and we have potential to try. So it's been a really fortunate environment for innovative practices, new approaches, new ideas.
Exactly. I'll piggyback on what everybody said, and also to have grace with ourselves and flexibility, and know that each day is different, as it always in the classroom is, but just having that flexibility that we can change things as we go. And our teachers are phenomenal. They are doing everything. I've heard everything from tap dancing to get kids engaged to doing explosive little experiments virtually for our kids. So we want to really give kudos to our teachers for doing those things, but also that engagement is key and not always what we expect it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple you've talked about the new normal, and I'm curious for specific examples, like what worked that was new and what did not work?
I think one thing that didn't work was trying to do everything as normal as you can in front of Zoom. And it's just, teachers have a comfort level of being in the classroom, and it changed. And the more quickly they embraced that change and dove into some of the new resources we were able to provide that were more effective for distance learning, I think those teachers were a little more successful.
I know a specific example for me. So in STEM, we're always encouraging the fail forward type thing, and that works. It allows a level of vulnerability on behalf of teacher and student that helps to create relationships. And we have been able to push out like many challenges to keep kids and teachers actually engaged. So of course, when we first started this, I was a lot more consistent than I am now, given that all these things are moving and, we have to prepare to help teachers come in for the transition. But like when the mask issue came out, we immediately launched a challenge for our students. Like, what would you do? How can you make the mask better? And the students made presentations for that. And so it gave them a level of independence, but also an opportunity to go through skills and processes that we want them to be employing and learning as students. We also put challenges out to teachers and asked teachers to use the different learning tools that Corrine was talking about, use them to actually provide their answers to us for an opportunity to win some innovative tech tools that they could use in the virtual learning environment.
And I work in the beyond school hours arena, so I connect with content specialists and curriculum specialists to provide experiences and clubs after school. And the first approach was, how is this going to look? How do we operate clubs? Are we going to have students and families interested in participating for clubs? What does that look like in the virtual world? And we have had a tremendous positive response from families. And we have had an amazing virtual STEM clubs and virtual programming for our students. Well over 5,000 students have already participated in an after-school experience. And that is from going to game competitions, such as what Legends Learning offers. We utilize those resources for card building games and things. They provide us a platform and a foundation to STEM and engineering clubs like MESA. But one thing that erupted out of that was this idea that we can offer programs that are not benchmarked around the traditional school hours later in the evening, and allowed students who had transportation issues to then begin to access programming in the evening with online book clubs or any of these other programs that we were able to offer. And so that is a practice that I believe as a school district, we will continue to employ and provide for our students because this positive result and very positive feedback from families.
Well, so you all shared a lot of examples of resources, communication, connecting, and I love those many challenges you talked about, Dr. Martin. I'm wondering, what are some ways that you've incorporated more hands-on activities in this environment? I mean, we're sitting here with a bunch of scientists, so talk about how you're incorporating these hands-on activities.
Well, I know it's been rough. It's been really rough because, of course, having students of all different backgrounds and in different areas in the county, where some places don't have as the connectivity and materials and things like that, we have to make sure that we're being fair with everybody. And so our hands-on curriculum, which our elementary science curriculum is completely hands-on, has been a real struggle to try to make it so that the kids are being engaged and enjoying it. So we've kind of turned to a lot of the simulations and a lot of online resources like Legends and like Gizmos to try to get some other ways to get the kids involved in a different way besides using materials and manipulating themselves. I mean, it's hard for the teachers to stand up there and manipulate and, you know, oh, watch this and see what happens, because the kids are just, you know, it's just like watching a show. But I mean, it's been a very tough challenge to try to figure out how we can do it. And I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but it seems like using online simulations has been really the only way we've been able to make it happen.
Yes, and I agree with you, Leanne. We had the same situation. We've been using a lot of things like gamification, like Legends of Learning, to get kids engaged, but also my supervisor, Dr. Horn, and I and some of our wonderful staff here at the ESSL and our secretaries got together, and we did build take-home kits for all of our elementary grade levels, take-home kits for kids to do virtually, kids that are virtual at home, until we were able to come back to the hybrid. So that was quite an endeavor for us to make all of those kits per grade level, but we believe that kids with their family, even though it was a few things, you know, glow stick and some Alka-Seltzer and, like, you know, some cool stuff like that, it was hands-on for them and everyone had a chance to do something. And our teachers have been doing demos that it's hard for them to, of course, have our kids do that, but for them to do that demonstration, then give them some ideas for resources that they could do at home. Like, you know, these are some things you can use at home if you have it. And if not, you can watch this demo. So it's giving different options. So that's what we were doing here in Frederick County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we struggled with the idea of sending things home. I keep seeing the Southwest Want to Get Away ad with the 4th grade teacher and the kids blowing up volcanoes at home, and I shudder every time I see that. But one thing we have had success with, we weren't allowing teachers to use Zoom breakout rooms without having an adult in each room. But now that we have hybrid and we have students back in the classroom, we're doing in-person labs with the students who are in the classroom, and each of them then run a breakout room, and the teacher can monitor all the breakout rooms just like she might be monitoring lab groups within a classroom. So it's not getting everyone hands-on, but the students at home are seeing that and are able to participate to an extent, collect data, perform data analysis, and so forth. So that's been a success for us in the hybrid model.
Yeah, Brian, I like how you kind of alluded to that, because we were kind of talking about how we have more hands-on activities going on during this remote environment. And we talked about simulations, online resources, game-based learning, demos, sending home kits. And you're kind of talking about things that are going to stick now that you're moving back into the classroom. More students are able to get into the classroom. And some of these things that we've learned to do science virtually is going to stick too.
Yeah, I said if we go back to normal in August, and you know, maybe we will, it would be the worst thing if we went completely back to normal to what we did in August of 2019. We're learning a lot out of this, and I think we'd be doing ourselves and our students a great disservice if we didn't leverage the materials, resources, and learning that we've accumulated over the last 12 months now.
Yeah, and Dr. Martin, I know this is dear to your heart, but go ahead, Dr. Perrella, and I'll come back to you, Dr.
Oh, no, I just wanted to comment on Brian's statement that to really leverage those resources, I absolutely agree. We've built our capacity in the field of so many technological advances and options. So taking advantage of those in the future is key and essential.
Key and essential indeed. And Dr. Martin, I know I was trying to think of something you had talked to me before about these thriving students that are thriving in this distant learning environment. And some are not thriving. What about the ones that are?
Yeah, so the students that are thriving, they're the ones asking and needing more and more things. And so all the ideas that are shared here, we have in one way, shape, or form utilized those pickups for materials and simulations. I do apologize, that is my bird. Game-based learning. Our usage for Legends of Learning is through the roof. And the students who are thriving are the ones who are making us have to innovate more and more and more to figure out what to do, and they're pacing themselves faster than we probably could have imagined. And they won't. So the concern for me is when we go back face to face, what about that group of students? So everybody keeps talking about the students who did really well face to face, that they're not thriving right now, but our kids who are thriving in this virtual world have had to make adjustments and such for their entire academic life. And so now we really have to keep those kids in mind, because some of those kids who were almost failing are now passing. So we can't go back to what it used to be. So Brian, I pray on a regular basis that we do not make that mistake.
Now, Leanne and Kendra, I see you nodding your heads. Similar experiences and thoughts for you?
Yeah, I feel that, so many kids we have them on both ends. It seems like most of our kids are either doing really, really well and they're just thriving in this environment, or they're just not connecting at all. And it just, it's been detrimental to several students. I think it's finding that balance when we go back to make sure that we're keeping some of those, some of what we're doing now in the classroom when we go back, so that we can keep those kids who were doing so well with this in virtual environment, allow them to continue working in a way that's being successful for them.
Exactly. And I don't know how that will look. I agree with all of you. We can't let go of what's working and look at teaching that whole child what works best for them. When we think about ourselves and how we learn as adults, we gravitate to what works for us, right? So why aren't we doing that for our babies, right? Whatever age they are. So I think that we look at our curriculum writing and how we're going to develop resources that will address every learner, and what does that look like? And I just think we have to have a different perspective and a change in our mindset.
So Kendra, talking about gravitating to what works best for us, and how do we, when we're looking at our curriculum ahead, how do we take advantage for all these tech savvy teachers and students now? Like, everyone just got a crash course on how to be tech savvy in so many different ways. So how do we take advantage of that moving forward?
I think we need to capitalize on our teachers that are rocking it. I see a lot of teachers in here, and I'm going to call out one. I see him on here. Keith Garrigan is one of our amazing teachers, and he has one that just kind of took technology and went with it. So can we capitalize on those teachers and make them leaders in the building that can teach those who maybe have been apprehensive with technology? Has it been difficult for them? Can our teachers help those teachers that are maybe a little bit apprehensive moving forward, getting more online and more technology in the classroom, more personalized learning? I think Legends of Learning is an excellent segue for anyone who's feeling apprehensive about doing anything outside of what they normally do, because it allows kids to just move forward at their own rate, and it really addresses our standards too. So I think we really have to look at those teachers that are rocking it and help them become leaders and share what they know, because they know so much and we have to learn from them.
If I could add to that, I also think that we have to continue to light the fire in the teachers who have taken the charge and are constantly learning to try to innovate and have engaging lessons for their students. I think we need to do due diligence and increase their capacity as they go. Those teachers are the ones that we need to help propel the rest of the teachers who are being dragged, kicking and screaming, just like my bird, into the 21st century.
You know what I really had appreciated, we started with a vendor relationship with Legends of Learning. It became a partnership relationship because you provide a lot of information to us. Not that we can't get our own user reports at the school level, but it allows a conversation between me and Vicki Romanowski, our coordinator of science, who's working with professional development with teachers, and our curriculum director, Skip Leigh, to work together and to look at ways that we can gamify instruction, increase student interest, promote curiosity, and respond to student interests and things that they are enjoying. And I appreciated on the reports finding students who self-initiate within that game-based platform, because it eliminates the need for stair-step pacing, and it allows them to just explore on things that they find exciting and intriguing.
Yeah, and one more thing I was thinking about. So Legends of Learning just released their game challenge, and I actually sent an email asking if I could join just to learn it myself. And I've been encouraging my teachers to do that, right? When I was a new teacher, I felt like I was one day ahead of my kids in all the content I was teaching. And I feel like this pandemic has put the mindset, or that particular way of feeling and thinking back to the forefront for most teachers, even those who were very seasoned and felt like they could do stuff in their sleep, like that they were just a half a step ahead of the kids. And I believe that constant quest to learn and want to learn is something that if we can keep that going in our teachers, then we could change the teaching profession to increase them to be more STEM-tastic. And oh my gosh, I've got a choir. Then to help the students. I cannot believe this.
Well, Dr. Martin, I tell you, it's always a lot of fun when you're around.
Felicia brought Jurassic Park to our meeting.
I love it. I love it. I love that word STEM-tastic that you brought up. And Kendra, you also shared a little bit about that teacher in the audience today. I think it was Mr. Garrington.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're kind of alluding to teacher leaders, people that have that growth mindset, continue to grow, continue to learn. So how do we continue to cultivate that environment? So everyone's putting themselves outside their comfort zone, like you are, Dr. Martin, designing a video game, I understand. So that's pretty awesome. So how do we keep this growth concept and keep that moving forward? Dr. Raygor?
I think we first recognize and encourage it when we see it. And, we have teachers who are really stepping up and doing outstanding things, whether it's technology based or other things in the virtual classroom, the hybrid classroom. I had a teacher who early in the year when we were fully virtual, they were doing, they would have done a field trip along the local river here in Salisbury. She took her kayak out and her phone, and they did a virtual field trip, and she had students from all of our high schools, not just her own, participating in that. And, we have teachers doing these innovative things. And I think hard times really are, foster innovation, and we need to identify those and really use those as positive examples. And one, share what they're doing, and two, encourage other folks to continue being innovative and come up with more new and exciting things.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Raygor. Speaking of new and innovative, how are we incorporating play into learning? You guys have kind of touched on this a little bit, but we know the importance of play. How are you incorporating it? And how are your teachers incorporating it that you've seen?
We're using Legends, a lot of our teachers on the virtual Wednesday when the teachers have PD and the students have all asynchronous work. So we have teachers using play, be it Legends, maybe simulations through Gizmos or FET, but giving students that opportunity when they're home in front of a computer. We know they're going to be playing video games. If we can get some play that's delivering them some science content as well, it's win-win, and the students enjoy it. The teachers love the way they can really monitor the student work through that play as well through the Legends platform.
Yeah, and I think that we have to again change the mindset, and I know that's been said a couple of times. There is too many of us as educators who think that learning has to be serious. And I think that we have to let that go. We have to release that. Like if a kid's laughing, they're not learning. That's not the case. Or if they're enjoying what they're doing too much, then they can't do a lot of it. And so in our schools where we have Legends like going through the charts, it's the schools that we're trying to turn into inclusive STEM middle schools where all the kids get to participate in STEM every grade they're there. And we have more than the STEM teachers utilizing Legends as a way to help students learn. And so that community and that culture that's being built around that, I think, is something that gives them an opportunity to use as teachers to provide examples with, and because the kids are, they're all familiar with that because it's being utilized in many departments.
I also feel it's a great way of using Legends is just a great way for, just that competition. The kids love that, anything that's going to spark them and get them to, I played for this long, or I got to this point and this level, and, just doing anything that they can do to encourage that part of play, just that fun, and it just makes it more exciting for them.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm kind of thinking a little bit about the environments that you all have kind of describing, and I'm hearing a lot about students and trying to connect with them and getting them engaged. How are you, outside of academics and resources, how are you connecting and building relationships with students? How have you seen your teachers connect and build relationships with their students?
To start with that, one of the features and characteristics of the schedule, the virtual schedule in Anne Arundel County, is that they embedded that as a foci within the actual schedule. It was at the elementary level for our primary students. It was friends and fun time. We incorporated a club time within that academic day, and that just allowed that meaningful exchange between teachers and students on any number of things that may have been of an interest. And it wasn't formal. There wasn't an instructional component to it. It was really about that community building and that relationship building, connecting students to each other, connecting students to adults in the school, and helping just to build their sense of identity in this time, which is very unusual for them. I mean, there's nothing conventional about their experience. So I found that was something that I was extremely proud of, to work with teachers and support. That time wasn't a co-curricular piece, but again, it was just a conversation that was being had district-wide for how can we use this time to promote what we want, what are our values.
Thank you, Corey. Can anyone else share any specifics that they've seen in their districts and their schools, within their teachers and students, working to cultivate those relationships? We know that teachers and students, that relationship is what makes students level up a lot of times, because they know they matter. So how are we doing to keep that going in other districts? Thank you, Corey, for your example.
In
Yeah,
Frederick, I'm sorry, Brian. In Frederick, Maryland, we have a program called Paths, which is social emotional, and so that is shared every day with kids. It's a program that they do, but I can speak for talking with teachers and seeing my own children, their school, and the amount of effort that they're putting forth to build that relationship. The school that my children attend, their entire school the teachers made a video, music video, which was, they changed the words about how we're going back to school because of, COVID and the virus and wearing your mask. And I think we watched that music video 100 million times. And my daughters that are in kindergarten were so excited. Now, this is their first experience at school. And so we bring, our kids that are used to what school was, and now coming back to a new world. And then you have kids that this is their first experience from school. And I think probably more nervous, of course, than they were, but they were so excited because they saw that music video and we had to watch over and over and over and over again. And when they actually went into hybrid, they're like, Mama, our friends just popped out of the computer and they were real life. And it was just so exciting. And, they talk with their friends. They do little questions where they talk about things on Flipgrid, like they talk about their favorite stuffed animal, or they talk about, what they do at home, or what their favorite video game is. And so exciting to see Legends of Learning coming out to the primary friends. So yay. But it's just extraordinary. And then, of course, we see across the internet, across the nation, just the things that teachers are doing. It's incredible. So that's just one little piece of what I've seen, but I'm sure everyone has some story to tell about how teachers are going above and beyond to build that relationship with our children. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, just teachers taking the effort to try to build some community. And it's a lot of teachers doing a lot of little things. It's at the school level, some bigger things. But, my daughter, before the semester started, got a postcard in the mail from one of her teachers. And who gets mail anymore? And she's a junior in high school, and she still thought that was pretty cool. I was in a classroom today, a sixth grade teacher, and he was reminding his students, if they want, totally voluntary, come to the lunch bunch today. And it's a place for students to get together and chat with the teacher, and again, getting to know each other, building community. I have a brand new teacher who's outstanding. She can tell you probably more about her students and what's going on with them than some of my veteran teachers did when we were back in the classroom, because she's taken that effort. Beginning of class every day, there's a minute or two, she's doing an SEL question as a warm-up sometimes, but she's really putting that effort forth. So it's really, I think, we see teachers putting that effort forward to get to know their students and build community. And different teachers are doing it in different ways and finding what works for them.
I'd like to add to that. In our district, I know it's taken off, and I'm sure as soon as I say it, all you're gonna be like, oh yeah, a lot of our teachers are doing it, and it's the Bitmoji craze, right? So a lot of teachers have created their classrooms. They have a fall classroom, a March, April, May, Christmas, Thanksgiving. They have all these different classrooms. But one of the ways that we have done it is we have encouraged students to create their characters as well. They can show and push up. We actually tried that over the summer, this past summer, and we found that sharing those, so the entire staff did them and shared them with the kids, and then the kids pushed back and did them. These were rising 9th grade students, and the relationship building, which is one of the reasons that we have those summer programs that happen between those 9th grade students and their future teachers, may not have been as strong as seeing them every day in the summer, but it was still there, and the roots had started, and part of that was in them sharing things about themselves using the Bitmoji. And this is my time to plug that, you know, I'm still looking for my Legends of Learning character.
Well, Dr. Martin, okay. I don't know what you did to hush the birds up, but I hope everyone's okay there.
Yes.
Speaking of the Bitmoji craze, you got me thinking about something that we kind of tapped on before, school spirit. How do we get kids talking to each other? I mean, when kids are going to start returning to the classroom, how do we keep that spirit up in the schools? And then the other second part, how are we going to help kids communicate with each other now in person?
So I think the very real thing is it's not going to be the way kids and parents are hoping when they get back to school. Those kids are going to have to go to a desk, sit at that desk, not talk to their friends, keep a mask on. I think they're going to be in for a world of support, and really they're going to be communicating via their devices, right? So I think that still the brain breaks and the sparklers and the shaking, diversifying the lessons is still the best route to go to keep the kids energized.
Yeah, we've had schools do things for school spirit even before we were back hybrid, but still doing the spirit weeks and, you know, trying to encourage kids to keep the cameras on and show off, you know, whatever the dress up day of the day is, those sorts of things. They're trying. It's certainly not like being in person, but they're working hard to build that sense of community within the school.
I loved seeing at the high school there was the camera challenge. Principals were issuing these camera challenges across the county. And oh, it just made me laugh every time because it really did get students excited and intrigued with what that challenge would be. So that was one technique they were using.
Very cool. I've got to ask, are any of you former cheerleaders?
I used to cheer.
Knew we had one in the bunch. Love it. Love it. Okay, so now looking forward a little bit, thinking about the summer that's, you know, just around the corner, and we've got testing season right in front of us, and we've got kids that we've got to catch up, and we know that math is going to be pushing. How do we ensure that science gets pushed, and we also make sure kids are catched up? And we got STEM leaders here. Any thoughts?
Well, part of it's going to be some gap analysis in terms of assessing kids, but a lot of it is we know if things had to be cut because we lost a lot of time. We know that in the fall, our instructional time was basically cut in half. But it's important for folks like us to really monitor where those cuts were made and know where those gaps are. We're not going to put students in first grade again next year. They're going to go into second grade, but we need to go into second grade knowing what they didn't get in first grade. And again, some of that might be some diagnostic assessments, but we need to use what we know. And, you know, we know what has been covered and what we didn't get to as much as we would have liked to have, and start from that.
And looking back, do we have to go back and look at our curriculum and interleave some previous skills? Do we need to pull upon our cross-cutting concepts and, you know, bring those back in? What do patterns look like in kindergarten? What do they look like in first grade and second? Where's that commonality between them? We're thinking about how can we provide these little review snippets into our curriculum so that kids can get what they're supposed to get that year, but then also provide them with the option of viewing things that they had maybe missed the year before. And Legends really offers a great way to do that because we can make playlists that are covering, 3, 4, 5. We were thinking about how are we going to provide review for kids for MISA. And of course that's on hold, the MISA, but building these 3, 4, 5 playlists, it's going to cover their grade 3, 4, and 5. And it's fun and it's exciting and kids are going to want to beat each other. And they get to review and they get to do simulations and they get to learn vocabulary in an exciting way. So I think Legends offers a great way to help meet those gaps and bridge those learning deficits.
And I kind of feel that I agree with all of you. And I think one thing that we need to make sure that we don't do is just, we've got to learn, we've got to review this, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, and we got to learn all this. We got to cram all this stuff into one quarter. And we can't forget that, school is a time for the kids to not just learn things, but also to enjoy the communication and the different classes they're going to and learning about each other. And I think we really have to make sure that we have some kind of a balance in there as well with the content that we're teaching and making sure that we're not overloading the kids and making learning so horribly boring that they don't want to come to school anymore. So, keeping the sparks and keeping it fun, and definitely Legends Learning is definitely a place to kind of remind them of some things that they might have missed a lot of the information from last year, and then also, moving them forward to where they should be this year. So I think it's a little bit of it's gonna be a balance. It's gonna be tough.
Leanne, and when we look at STEM as an engagement piece and we use it as an engagement tool and strategy, not just as a content area, then it allows us to foster and to develop these thinking skills with students they will apply in all their areas. So it's exciting to students and it captures their interest and it builds that desire and that want for learning. So we can really leverage STEM in that way by partnering STEM with other experiences. And in summer programs, offering robotics for part of the day when we have perhaps an acceleration or a content recovery piece in an afternoon. So there's ways that you can layer the programs for student interest and get them to want to come to our summer experiences, not just have to come to a summer experience. I know that we've got funding out there, we've got resources out there, so it's not always just about how do we deliver another program. It's like, what can we do to really shift and change?
So one of the things I like to say all the time is we have to stop the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think a lot of times, like I literally just ran into a student of mine who's 30, has kids, has a family. And she said to me, and when I taught chemistry, I never used the word stoichiometry. I taught it using money. I taught it using recipes. I taught it, like about baking, things like that. And she was like, I never thought about what you taught me was something that I needed to learn in chemistry. But then I started thinking about how you kept doing those proportions, those ratios when it came to the money. And I need that all the time now because she's a hairdresser. And I just think that we have to find better ways to make connections for students to believe that it is important for them to know and remember this information. And when we stop, just as Leanne was saying, oh my God, we've got to cover this or we've got to cover that. When we stop and do that, we devalue the connections and the why for the learning.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I was just to say, I just met with the teacher today, a STEM teacher leader today, and she said, how can we get STEM more involved with our students? And Dr. Felicia, what you said about your student that was looking at money with her hairdressing, it goes beyond just being a scientist and an engineer. And I think we need to expose our kids to just what's out there. And so we talked about, reaching out to staff and families and what are their careers and can they come and do a virtual talk with kids and talk about what they actually do, where the math really is, where the science really is, because it's not just science and engineer. There's so much more that we can incorporate for our kids to see real life science and STEM in action. So thanks for saying that, Felicia.
Can I piggyback off of you too, Kendra? I really feel that this is a perfect opportunity for us to get out of those silos that we often live in and say, you know what? Oh, STEM is just science, and my kids need to be able to read and they need to be able to do this math, but understanding that they can do all of that together and it doesn't have to be set in these separate silos. We can do it all together. And I mean, all of our mindsets are there, but I think it's changing the minds of not only, other people that we're working with, but also parents of, the idea that teaching STEM and, you can incorporate everything in that one lesson, and having it be, even though it's fun, it's still learning.
Yeah. Thank you, Leanne. So we have a couple questions from our participants here today, and I'm hoping my friend Josh Goldberg can help me with that. What does the audience want to know? What do they want to know?
How you guys doing? So we have a question. Basically, the gist of the question is, I've tried doing lots of really engaging things with my kids, but there's still a little bit of fatigue. There's a couple students who I just can't really get to do much. Do you guys have any excuses for those kids who are really hard to reach right now, even if you've tried great things like games? Maybe start with Kendra.
I was just going to say, building the relationship with that student. So like, can we talk to that student and maybe just on a personal level, just to get to know them beyond what schoolwork is? Like, why is it that child is maybe having some fatigue, not wanting to be involved? Is there, we're in a place right now through this pandemic that we look at the family unit and things that are happening in our home. There's so much. It could have nothing to do with school. When we were all virtual, I thought I was going to lose my mind because I love my baby so much, but it was very hard to work and do in meetings and have twin kindergartners next to me, and they're dancing and they're moving and they're jumping and they're screaming and they're yelling, and my husband's in a meeting over there. And we were living with my parents at the time, so my mom's trying to do yoga and my dad's reading a book about Winston Churchill. It was nuts. So I wonder how my kids were emotionally and how they feel. So my suggestion would just be, can we just talk to that friend and find out, how they are, what things do they like on a personal level aside from school? That might trigger some ideas that could help you engage them. Perhaps they're really into building things, or maybe they're really into art or music, and then going from there and just getting to know them on a personal level, because I think when you look at, Maslow's hierarchy, that belonging is number one. Do I feel like I belong there? And so if we can know them on a personal level, it might help open up doors to get them to want to learn more. Anyone else has something to add to that?
Yeah, anyone else on that thought?
I kind of feel the same way, but also I think that another thing you can do with a kid that's struggling is let them be the center of the class for something. Like maybe they're going to run the breakout room, or maybe they're going to be the one who's going through the Nearpod together with the class, or let them be the one who's like, you always had that, oh, you're the paper passer today, or the helper in the classroom. Let them be the helper in the classroom, even though it's virtual.
Excellent. So let's move on to the next question. So obviously Legends of Learning is the best resource out there, but I did have a question. Could you guys each name some non-Legends of Learning resources, some specific examples of simulations or other resources for elementary coding and STEM that you've had success with? So maybe just have everyone list off an additional resource or two that they've had success with in their district.
At elementary, gizmos and FET are used for simulations in our district quite extensively.
Two great resources.
I'm going to say PBS Media. It's free. And you can search by grade. You can search by standard, and it'll give you a variety of videos, lesson plans, even some simulations as well. We found that because we're not able to use YouTube, so there's a lot of videos out there that we can't use, but we found that PBS Media was a great resource, and it also provides closed captioning, so It's allowing our friends that maybe need that accommodation. There's also a lot of reading of the text to students, so if they have that accommodation. So that's a resource that I'd highly recommend.
Discovery Education's been a great resource as well. With Mystery Science has been a program that we've taken advantage of, builder board programs. So those are great content options for us. VEX has a great simulation with coding. Their VR coding, even if you aren't doing robotics in person, the VR coding simulates what's happening with those robots. So that's been a great one to take advantage of. Code Combat's another one. It's with Azaria, a coding platform that we use, code.org. And we tend to embed all of those as options and opportunities with our students. But yeah, those are just a couple.
Yeah, I'd like to add one that hasn't been mentioned, and that's MergeCube. I actually believe that MergeCube is a K-12 tool. It has things you can download, and for us, our younger grades are on iPads, and so this is iPad friendly. But it also has a component that can become 3D, and so it can advance as much as a student could make a 3D model of a report for social studies on it. So it is a very, very good tool to help keep kids engaged. And the teacher can actually do it as a demo, and the students can see it 3D in a classroom.
Awesome.
We also use we use a lot of gizmos in our classrooms, and Generation Genius is another one that we use a lot of, where they have lots of little video clips, and then there's little quizzes in there, and then the readings that they have in there are also, you can have this, the students can listen to the text being read to them. So that's become a pretty big hit with our elementary teachers, and also Discovery as well for our middle school teachers.
Cool. I think this next question was spurred by Brian's talk of a virtual canoe field trip. But kind of really drilling down, if each of you could kind of just talk about one specific really cool thing that a teacher did in a classroom for STEM, and Brian, you have to give us a different one, that you would have never thought possible before this year. Like no one would have ever thought before this year a teacher would get in a canoe where their kids aren't there and then Zoom it for their kids. So like, what's one thing that you saw was just awesome that maybe another teacher or coordinator on this call could be like, oh, that's a really cool thing we can maybe incorporate into our lessons next year, even if we're back in person? Someone has to go first. Don't make me call people.
I'll go.
All right.
So we have Nanjamoy Creek is an environmental center in Charles County. And typically our students go to the creek to do field trips. So one of our teachers down there decided to do a full lesson on, he actually has several of them on, he now has them on YouTube also, where he goes out and he explores different parts about the, they do a bird one where they go and they pull out their birds and they talk about the birds, and then they, it's very animated and very much like a, come on, let's go, let me show you kind of activity. It's really fun. And it's just different ways that, that these are great. We can just keep building these and making these, and teachers can use them at any time. So they don't have to actually come down to the creek and watch them seine the water, but they can actually, sit there and watch it happen. And they can even talk to the people down at the creek as well.
Right.
So it's
so instead of like a once a year experience, it could be once a month.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
And that's a good thing about what we've learned. I think that's one of the good things is that we don't have to be there in order to get the experience.
Exactly. Where I am right now, that's not really a meteor, but I'm at the Earth and Space Science Lab here, and we have phenomenal co-directors who, see hundreds of kids a week, and we can't do that. So they have I Wonder Wednesday, and what they do is on I Wonder Wednesday, they do a live show on Facebook that then we put on Screencast-O-Matic. We put the closed caption with it, and then I build activities that kind of correspond with it. Tomorrow they're doing volcanoes and explosions. We've had animals, we've had, you name it. We built a website that is just all these awesome things that they're doing live. We're recording them just like Leanne said, and that's archived. Teachers can use that anytime. They can make a playlist for kids to do virtually. They can, use it as something to add to what they're doing live. So we have, I'd say that's pretty awesome. Anything from bees to lizards to, we did a whole thing on African-American Black history with amazing scientists and mathematicians. We need to capitalize on our world around us. And so we did a whole bunch of that here. We did, oh gosh, I'll have to share the website with y'all because there's so much there to share, but
Please do.
yes, I will. For
What
sure.
a tremendous opportunity for our students that are in our STEM programs is that they have an internship requirement as part of their graduation requirement. And it was a tremendous lift for the STEM office to then transition those internships into virtual experiences. But Josh, I'll call you out on one, is that we had a student who had a chance to do an internship with Legends of Learning. And I thought that was an incredible experience for a student because the employability skills from any of these virtual experiences, whether it was you or working with any number of other partners we had for internship, that employability transfer for all of these virtual tools that are used in the workplace on a daily basis was a learning experience that was just really hard to capture the magnitude of. So, I really applaud teachers who did that this summer.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of great virtual interns. I think I mentioned in the chat, we're a Maryland-based company. So if you're a teacher or coordinator on this call and you have a kid who, high school realistically, looking for a virtual internship for the summer, we do have folks that we are looking to hire. So please let us know.
Can we intern with you? You're a pretty cool place.
Right.
I think Felicia and Brian, you owe us an example.
Yeah, I would just say we've had a lot of teachers who kind of played with flipping the classroom over the last couple of years, but I have a few who really dove in headfirst this year, and it's a major part of what they're doing in a couple of ways. One, it's getting the content to the students, but we have time in our 80 or 90-minute block where they can be with the students. They're expected to be with the students live for at least half or more of that time, and then there can be some student-directed time then or for homework. So the students are watching the teacher-made videos. It's their teacher. He knows him. He can call them out by name in the video if he wants to. But it's allowed him, along the lines of the SEL, to really connect with kids in class more, because a lot of that teaching of the content has been front-loaded, and he's really able to take time discussing things with the students and bringing their experiences and having the one-on-one or large group discussions to get to know the students. His classroom's a really, really positive place. He's always been a great teacher at building positive relationships, and he hasn't allowed it to slow him down.
All right, Felicia, bring us home.
Okay, and so the one that sticks for me actually wasn't one that I was in, but I wish I was in, and I wish they had pressed record, is when on a learning walk, a group went in and the students were in their kitchen doing lab experimentation with the teacher. And the teacher had orchestrated this event to the point where the parents knew the exact experiment that was going on. It did require different water temperatures. This was a middle school class. Every kid had their camera on. Every kid was engaged. No kid was off task. And then it was almost textbook roles of your recorder, your lead person, all of those things, and their accountability for each other. And even now, even though this has happened months ago, they're still talking about why didn't we record that? Because you had to see it to believe it. And it just goes to show that it is possible. And it's one of the things that I dream to see one day, because I do believe virtual is here to stay for a certain population of our students. And if one class can do it, then anybody can do it if they want to.
Awesome.
Well, Dr. Martin, if I've said it once, I've said it a bunch of times. We all have. Clearly, your teachers are superheroes. So rock on, stay legendary, and thank you for being a part of our panel today. This has been really intriguing for me and for everyone, I'm sure.
And thank you so much for joining, everyone. We really appreciate it, and I learned a lot. I'm gonna go get on a canoe and film it for everybody.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.